Yes.
Okay. So, Dialogues, International Women's Day 2026. This brings together voice that inspires us, induces reflection in our action, and compels us to bring changes. Hello, everyone on the panel, on the group. So, HR Open House 1 is once again back with another panel discussion on interesting topic in global HR domain. I'm Rajni Das, co-team member and a chapter admin for HR Open House 1, and I'm also associated with the talent acquisition practice with NICE. In next 40 minutes, we will witness a conversation focused on collective growth, allyship, creating lasting impact for women at work. So before we get into the detail, I'll hand over this to our moderator, Mr. Harish Panik. Over to you, Harish.
Thank you, Ms. Rajni. On behalf of HR Open House 1, it's a pleasure to welcome our distinguished women panelists and the women in our audience. Wishing everyone you a very happy International Women's Day week. Let me introduce our panelists. We all look forward for that one person with whom we can share our thoughts without the fear of being judged. And the best part is that the person is patient listener, also comes with solution which has lifetime impact on our personality. We have one such elite personality among us today as a speaker, who is none other than Dr. Swati Karve. She has PhD in psychology and about 30 years of experience as an educator, OD and training consultant, mental health professional and an entrepreneur. She has experience working across cultures in the USA and India. She is the director of Swasti Vishwa Behavioral and Social Science Institute Foundation, a non-profit company. She started to provide accessible and affordable education, and today they have provided training and education to more than 8,000 individuals across corporates, professionals, faculty, and students. She is also professor of practice at DS Pune University in psychology. She divides her time between US and India, managing home and work in both countries. Now we have another panelist who is the known face in HR fraternity. She has made huge impact in both corporate and community spaces with her leadership style. She is none other than Miss Swati Mishra, is seasoned HR leader with over 16 years of experience across different domains like manufacturing, management, consulting, mining, and high-tech industry. She she has held global roles at leading organizations including BCG, Bain and Company, Panasonic, Mercer, and Amdocs. And currently she heads HR for the South Asia region at Omea. Swati brings deep expertise in organizational development, talent management, and total rewards, and is known for driving strategic HR initiative at the leading through influence. She is also an executive coach and personally assessment consultant. Beyond her corporate role, Swati is deeply committed to mentoring and social impact. She serves as the managing trustee of HR Infotech Association, where she was also a past president for Pune chapter and actively volunteers with NGOs focused on education and sustainability. She has been a guest speaker at premier institutes such as IIT Delhi and IIT Mumbai. I am Ahmedabad, I am Kashipur, Raipur, I am Jammu, JB IMS, and London School of Digital Business. Now let me introduce our third panelist, who is Miss Rajni Das, is an experienced talent acquisition and HR professional based in Pune with a strong background in end-to-end recruitment and people strategy within the IT and technology domain. She currently works as a specialist talent acquisition partner at NICE Limited, where she supports strategic hiring and talent initiatives. In addition, Rajni is an active co-team member and chapter admin of HR Open House 1, contributing to community building and knowledge sharing within the HR ecosystem. Now, Let me introduce myself as I am the host and the moderator for the day. I am Harish Pavnikar, holding 10 years of experience in HR domain. I have served industry like retail, manufacturing, NBFC, and currently leading the HR operation for India in one of the GCC called as Syngenta Global Capability Center Private Limited. Apart from that, I am the active core member of HR Open House 1. So, this was a brief introduction about our esteemed panelist. Before we move to our next section, I would like to know if our panel members have something to say.
So, Harish, I will just say thank you for the very generous introduction, and I am grateful to you all and Ketan for giving me this opportunity of interacting with you today on this Sunday afternoon. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swati.
Thank you, Harish and Rajni. Of course, honored to be here and sharing whatever I can share with your elite HR fraternity. And it's a delight to be here. Thank you so much, Ketan and his team, and Rajni and Harish for having me here in this panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. Now we are moving to our first section where we will be speaking about aspiration, work-life balance, and support system. So let me ask first question to Dr. Swati. And Swati, how did you balance your aspiration with other priorities at the different stage of life?
Yeah. Swati, do you want to go first?
No, you can go ahead, Dr. Swati.
Oh, okay. So basically, we all know that our development happens across lifespan. And for women, especially, what happens is our careers and our families, they all start almost at the same time. And that balancing act really has to start from the get-go. So we get married and we are stepping into our early careers. We are having our first kids and we are moving, slowly up the corporate ladders. And then the mid-career comes and you have maybe midlife crisis going on somewhere. You have adolescent kids. And as you start growing in your career, you have aging parents at home. So all through a woman's career, she is constantly balancing things with the family and with her personal and professional life. Now, what I would suggest to women is that it's not either career or family; it's career with family. So look at your own priorities, individual priorities, and your value system. And if whatever aligns with your values, go with that. And when we talk about value system, it's not that my values are better than somebody else's values and their values are better than my values. They are very individual. It depends on our culture, background, upbringing, what my personal values have as I've grown, what they have developed. So for me, for example, I have always put a priority, say, for example, on my family. So at the drop of the hat, when I kind of understood that my son needed me when he was a small child, a young child, a toddler. He needed me at home, and at drop of the hat, I left my corporate job. And that was okay for me because at that time, that was what was necessary. So it's not like, oh my God, I left my job, I left my job. That's fine because somewhere life has different domains. And if you can balance those domains, you find contentment and happiness. So it's all about positive emotions. So instead of being stressed about and feeling guilty and feeling all those conflicting things, at that point, I remember asking myself, I'm a psychologist, what would I have advised another parent to do when your child needs you at home? Because there were certain needs that the child had, because of which I had to leave. So at that point of time, I took those decisions. Similarly, when my husband needed to move out into a different country, I just supported him, and today he is supporting me. So again, it comes to a support system, but it's always our decisions need to be guided by our values and our priorities at that point in time. So there are a lot of hindsights, but what I suggest to women is, don't have any regrets. So that's the thing, when you look back on whatever you have done, you must be filled with satisfaction. So this is, something I hope that was, that answered that question.
Definitely. I would love to hear more from Miss Swati.
Sure, sure. So I think Dr. Swati, narrated it very beautifully, and it's nice that we are starting this introduction with talking about balance, because I think that if we figure that piece out, the life really becomes beautiful and meaningful, because all of us are struggling to figure out how to find this balance. For me, there are two things that become important. One is the external part, which is more of creating an ecosystem around you which supports you. So that's one. And the other is, like Dr. Swati was saying, the different domains that she mentioned. So for me, there are four domains that I look at. One is our career, which becomes important. The other is our relationship or our social life. The third one, I would say, is physical health, and the fourth one is mental and spiritual health. So, at any point in time when, when I think that life is going haywire and, I'm not feeling, I have a sense of, things are not under control, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, then I go back and I sit down and I look at this quadrant and I'm like, okay, what is it that I'm not paying attention to? Sometimes if I'm getting very engrossed in work and I'm just not talking to my loved ones, I'm not having time to talk to my friends, I'm not, spending, time with them, then things don't seem right. I mean, you feel a little more burnt out. Or if I'm not paying attention to my health and I'm not doing any, my routine is, hampered, then these are triggers that tell me that, okay, these four quadrants, something is not working right. So I think that we have to have those domains defined for ourselves. And at any point, we should try and see that we can, a little bit of something we are doing in those spheres. So even if it is 5 minutes of deep breathing, 5 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of stretching, quick 5 minutes chat with your parents or your friend, whoever makes you feel nice. So if we can do that on a regular basis, I think we'll be able to maintain that balance. So yeah.
Okay. So any other thoughts how you can correlate it with maybe your personal life? This
You want me to say or Rajni?
anyone?
Okay.
We would love to hear it from you and Dr. Swati. Yes, anything that you want to think you can correlate it.
So another thing that when Dr. Swati mentioned that it is not career versus family, it is not or, it is and. I think I can relate beautifully to it. So sorry. So for example, when I go for a lot of the social causes that I like to contribute towards, I go to a lot of NGOs. So, or I go to a lot of colleges to mentor students. At that time, my husband and my daughter also accompany me wherever possible. So, when we are going and that, so it is not that if I'm spending my weekend there, my family is with me. Similarly, my husband is very passionate about environment. He goes for a lot of cycling drives. He goes for tree plantation drives. Then I try to accompany him. So my daughter and we follow him. So like this, we try to see that we are able to do things that we are passionate about, but we are also focusing on the spending time together, being together. So yes, that's how I try to create that balance and convert that or into and.
Amazing. And what Swati said just now, it just brought to my, back to the values part of it. What Swati is doing here is creating those shared values. It's not because they're all doing things together, which means that they value similar things. Their daughter is now learning from them because they are role modeling those behaviors. So she's gaining the same values. And when values of the entire family and your ecosystem are aligned, then life becomes smooth. Value conflict agar ho jayega, interpersonal or intrapersonal, then is when the stress really starts. So that's a great example, Swati, that, where the balance can be found in this interpersonal domain. Awesome.
Thank you, both of you. So let me ask the another question to Miss Rajni. Who are your key support mechanism professionally and personally?
For me, the key mechanism is first and foremost is a self. There should be a self-driven positive mindset. And as Dr. Swati clearly said, we shouldn't have regrets. So that's only possible. We as female, what happens? I have felt we get into that mode where we say that I'll be able to do everything. I can handle everything. We get into that sort of, I have to do everything and I can do everything. There are times where we need to seek help. We need to go and talk about it to people. Maybe there is some personal help that I require in my family. I need to go and talk to my family about it. Maybe there is some help that I might require in terms of work load balancing. I need to go and talk to my manager. I should be able to go and speak over there. So what drives me the most is first of all to analyze, first of all to have a positive mindset that yes, everything is going fine. And second is to have that sort of synergy or connect with anybody that I'm working around, where I can go and say that yes, I need this help. I have done up to this much. Now, next is if you can handhold me into this, or if I'm stuck somewhere. We often get stuck at work and we try to do a stopgap arrangement to it. Or at times we try to overlook, especially when it comes to health. We definitely, many of us, we try to overlook, which has a long term impact. I believe we need to identify those spots in the early stage itself that will help us to balance everything. Even if things get discouraged, these things will be at a calculated risk so that we can take a hold of it before it gets worse. So, for me, people around me, basically speaking to them, interacting with them, and speaking heart with them is something that drives me. And I always try to be around with people with whom I can go and talk or I can speak, and along with a positive mindset, without thinking how they are going to judge me. This drives me to strike a balance. There's the first thing that I try to work on to get a balance in terms of both my professional as well as my family. And apart from that, following my passion for everything, I need to get a positive mindset. This drives me.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Rajni, for providing the insight. uh, as we can understand that it is important to balance life personally and professionally both. So now we can move to their next section, wherein we would want to understand from you, where we can speak about the unspoken truth and the lived realities. So let me ask question to again three of you. What is one truth about being a woman in your field that is rarely talked about publicly but should be spoken about more often?
Yes, Swati and Miss Swati, we would love to hear that from you first.
I think I'll request Swati Dograji to first talk about this because she has a vast
Sure.
experience in this field.
Oh, you're being very modest. You have far more, much more experience, but I'll take the lead here. So, I would say that there are certain gender stereotypes that have been existent in our society for a long time, and as much as we have come a long way, but there's still a very long way to go. There are, many occasions in my life where I have felt being judged because of my gender. So, if I'm aspiring for something, just because I'm a woman aspiring for it, it is being, construed in a different way than if it was a man. So just to give you an example, when my daughter was about, I think she was less than a year old. At that time, I got selected for an executive coaching certification program by a Switzerland-based organization, and my organization wanted me to go to our headquarters in Israel for that certification program. So you can imagine the dilemma in my mind. Here, I have a daughter who's less than a year old, and I got selected for this program, which was, it had multiple rounds of selection, and I was the youngest in the team who got selected for it. Very few of us made the cut, and I was in this dilemma. But I said, I'm blessed with a very supportive family. So my husband and my mother-in-law lives, rather we live with her ever since I've got married. So they told me, go for it. We'll manage your daughter for a week, not a problem. But when other people heard it in my office, and they were like, Swati, really, you're leaving your daughter behind? Somebody just, I think he didn't even intend it that way. He's like, she's your own daughter, adopted तो नहीं है, ऐसे छोड़ के जा रही हो. मेरी वाइफ तो अभी भी नहीं छोड़ पाती है उसको, वो इतनी बड़ी हो गई है. So then people were like, अरे ये तो certification ही है, बाद में कर लेना. So I was like, no, it is important for me. And because I had the ecosystem, of course, I won't have left her high and dry. But if my family is able to manage it, and for 1 week, I decided to go. And I'm very happy about that decision, because eventually, I realized how passionate I am about coaching, and it went on to become a very important part of my life. So I'm happy I took that choice. Then another incident I can tell you is when she was, I think, 4-year-old, and I got a job opportunity for which I had to relocate from Pune to Gurgaon. I got this offer from Boston Consulting Group. So for me, it was a big deal. It was a very good brand, very good role they were offering me. So it was a natural choice to go ahead and decide that. So when I broke this news in office and I said I'm relocating, and everybody was like, "Oh, so your husband found something there and that's why you're moving?" I said, "No, I found something there and my husband will follow." So, and even when I joined BCG, and I told those guys that my family is still in Pune and I have moved, and in a couple of weeks I'll have them over. So my mother-in-law and my daughter will join me in the next few days, and my husband will look for a job, and once he finds it, he'll come in there. They were very surprised. They said, "Really? Just for a job you relocated? You left your family behind?" And I was like, if a man would have done it, nobody would have raised a brow. It is so common. So many of my colleagues I know who have left their family in different cities and working elsewhere. So I can just go on and on. There are many examples like this. But what I'm saying is, so these kind of, gender stereotypes still exist. And it makes us question, because anyways, we have a bit of a guilt about not doing enough for our family. We are, focusing too much on our careers. And when the others also reinforce that, oh, yes, this is not such a right thing to do, unless you have a very strong sense of conviction and you feel, and like Dr. Swati was talking about values, that you are able to say that, yes, this is aligned with my values and I will go for it. Unless you have that confidence, you become a little shaky, and then you tend to play low key. You tend to try to please everybody, go small. So I think these some challenges still exist. And there's this beautiful, I'm maybe you've already read it. There's this book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO of Facebook, where she's very beautifully described how women are very different from men. And now in the organization, when we are talking about women-centered leadership development program, when we are saying that women need that push, a lot of times people come and ask, why do we give that special treatment to women? I mean, if there's a job opening, they are free to apply, or if there's a promotion, they are being considered. But I think that, there are some inherent things. Women tend to underplay themselves. She's actually scientifically proven that, let's say, if you ask a man and a woman that in 60 seconds, how many times can you skip a rope? The number that men would give would usually be, they would be overestimating themselves. So they would give a number, and when they tend to do it, it will be lesser than that. And women tend to go a little lesser. So if they are saying I'll do it 50 times, they'll end up doing 70 times, but they underestimate. So that's why that little bit of push is needed. That's why all these women-centered mentorship programs, leadership development programs, that extra nudge which is being given to women is required. And having said that, I would still say that a lot of mentors of mine, my coach, most of them have been men. So I am in no way saying that men are a hindrance for women's growth. I think they are our allies. And a lot of them, I think in my career growth, they have been so many men who've been instrumental in having, helping me achieve my dreams, get where I am. So I think all of us had to work hand in hand. We already are, but some of these challenges are there. So for all the young women, I say that, there's a lot of noise outside. Just learn to filter out that noise and just focus on what you want and make sure that it's aligned with your values, your aspiration, and you'll be good. So, yes. Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's a very good insight, Ms. Swati.
Yes, Dr. Karve. Anything from your end?
Yeah, I was just, digesting everything that she was saying. And I really need to thank my managers also, all men, who have supported me in ways that, even this was many years ago before any work from home or anything was even allowed. So one of my leaders in a company I was working for, he allowed me to go part-time so that I could take care of my child, and I was the only part-timer in that entire company. They made exceptions. In recent times, maybe 10 years ago, when I was doing consulting, it was like a full-time, I had to go certain hours, but they allowed me to, they gave me a laptop and I was able to work from home. They gave me all the ways to, I was the only one in that department who was given that laptop. So they made exceptions because I had situations where that exception was needed. And all these people were men. My husband, he supports me. Like, I'm coming back to that support system. So today, for example, when I come to India, I'm spending 2 months, 3 months. I live in my brother's house. So I see all these supportive men around me who make this possible for me to do. And of course, my in-laws and parents, my siblings, I mean, they're all our support system. But then, without that support system, we cannot go to that, that question three, like, what's that one thing about being a woman? So, like Swati said, there are a lot of prejudices and stereotypes and everything which even drive careers. And in our career as a psychologist, as an educator, in fact, there is no representation to that extent of men in the field. So actively, we have to see that more psychologist men are being groomed, being trained, mental health professionals. We see, and Meghna can vouch for it, that there are many psychiatrists who are men, but psychologists, most of them are women. So again, you see that difference in the gender representation, even in the careers that are chosen. So I think right from school levels, these stereotypes and these conversations should happen where there is more equality and representation across the board. So that's some of the things that come to my mind. Also, because of the fact that most of the women are there in this industry. If you look at this as an industry, you see that wages, for example, all that is driven by even representation. Like, so the whole thing, like that entire industry and ecosystem gets affected in a very holistic way, in a systematic way, in a systems viewpoint. So I think we need more representation across the board. So another thing in our, when we talk about representation is that being mental health professionals, most of them are concentrated in, in larger cities. And there's no representation of them in, say, smaller towns. That's a huge thing that where we can work. Our institute is actively doing work in this area. So, I mean, this is a very broad question, a lot of dimensions to it. So just to keep it brief, I think, I won't explain too much about it now.
Now I would like to hear from Miss Rajni.
Uh, in being part of HR industry and HR fraternity, I have seen that when it is a lower level of the strata, that is workforce who are working, there are a lot of female workforce who are there, who are part of the HR team. Whether you talk about the HR business partners, if you talk about the HR TA partners or comp and ben or operations, but when people start elevating the career on the top notch, we'll find a lot of people who are men in the leadership, on the leadership board. Of course, right now, time is changing. We have people like Ms. Swati Dongra. We have many more examples who are heading the HR process in various organizations. But yes, that change is coming in, but that's coming in a slow pace. We find a lot of female workforce working in the lower end of the pyramid, but when it shapes up, it as soon as it starts getting sharper, somehow uh, because of family priorities or the career priorities that they have, or maybe many of them they take career gaps also, reaching that apex of the pyramid at times become challenging. Also, I've seen one more thing. Being a talent acquisition person for past 15 years almost, uh, I have been into the HR sales side of it. We always deal in numbers. How many positions closed? How soon it was closed? But when it come towards the emotional involvement or sort of, we are always being judged in terms of the numbers that we achieve, but when it comes to how much we have invested in terms emotionally in that role, I say emotionally, that is basically stakeholder management, or the time where we have been part of a hard negotiation either with either parties, whether it is with the business or with the candidates. I have always seen those parameters, it always takes a backseat. It is always the numbers that get highlighted. I believe somewhere within the professional field, there should be some way where we can quantify emotional involvement we are giving towards the job. It's of male or female, something which is not being spoken about at times. Uh, I believe that should be more often. We should speak about that emotional involvement that we do in our professional life. Definitely would like to hear thoughts from Dr. Karve as well as from Ms. Swati on this, if they have some different opinion, because they can see things from different lenses as well.
I think one thing men are very good at is, they can have those conflicts in a meeting room, and, they can be just having very aggressive conversations in a boardroom. And then, after that, they can just go out and, go for a smoke break. And, in the evening, they can just go out and chill. And for women, I think we tend to take things a little personally, especially when Rajani is saying that we get emotionally involved. When emotions come in, we feel very passionately about our work. So if somebody is challenging our work, we tend to take it as a personal offense, that as if somebody has targeted us. And I think this is one thing we have to learn from men, And one of my mentors told me that as you rise, you got to really develop a sense of humor, and you have to take everything, take it in a cool way. Don't get very emotional about it. So I understand, Rajni, what you're saying is on a different, I'm taking it to a different tangent, but yes, it reminds me that somewhere we have empathy, we get very passionate, we are very sincere as a gender. I'm again getting into gender stereotype myself. But that perhaps comes very naturally. But then I think we have to learn to dissociate our, when the work related disagreements are happening, we don't have to take it personally. And it happens more as you rise, because everybody in that room who's at that level is very passionate about their work, and they have some very strong opinions. So it is bound to sometimes collide. But we really need to take it in a good stride, and then we also need to be friends later outside of that discussion. So yeah.
I just want to have, one small point over here, because I think what Rajani was also trying to say was that, look at the emotional investment when, those are taken, like being very metrics driven, you're just looking at the outcomes. But then imagine how much emotions we have invested in a particular task. This is really, individual differences, the psychology of individuals. So not all women may be completely invested emotionally in something. Not all men are not emotionally invested. Your emotional investment depends on what is driving you at that point. And end of the day, whether it's emotion or no emotion, what are the results?
Right.
So, okay, I mean, one of the things is if everybody agrees that that was a hard bargain, then you have to be rewarded for bargaining hard. But आपका emotion कितना है? That cannot get weighted because you might have had a lot of emotion and the result may not have come out, as expected. So end of the day, it's the outcome that companies want to see because that's a return on their investment. Emotional investment is your personal reward or reward or disincentive. So uske liye alag kuch chahiye. Maybe like Swati said, go and have a party afterwards. So कितना अच्छा है किया, इमोशनली इन्वॉल्व हो गए थे. It was very crucial for me and I got this result, so let me celebrate. So celebrating wins is very important, and I think that keeps everybody emotionally engaged as well. So, and Swati, I agree with you that women take things personally, and that's why they say that, whatever women are from Venus and men are from Mars, because we are biologically different. This whole idea that women have to be like men, even as a psychologist, I don't really agree with it. We have to accept the differences and make sure there is equity. That is why equity is so important, because we are all different. Even men are different within groups. Women are different within groups. Men and
Absolutely.
women will be different.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Rightly said, Dr. Swati. So let's now discuss something about the individual success to collective impact. So let me ask question to again to Miss Swati and Miss Rajni. How can we shift from a mindset of individual success to collective giving to ensure progress for women and girls, not just those in certain industries? What's your thought on that?
So, Harish, I think the answer is in your question itself, right? It's the mindset. So I think Rajani had also stated it in one of the our discussions earlier. So I think you just need to have that mindset of wanting to take everybody along, right? So it is just having that very intentional thought. Like we all agreed that, the wherever we have reached today, there have been so many people, such a big support system that has been instrumental in bringing us where we are. And now we cannot pay it back to them, but we have to pay it forward. So now the youngsters who are going to undertake the journey that we have already undertaken, I think it becomes imperative for us to be those mentors, be those support systems, be those coaches to them, and then collectively everybody will come up. And I think that it becomes, so it's firstly it's individuals, that as an individual each one of us is responsible. And not only, I mean, I'm here we are talking about women for sure, but even if we talk about, let's say, our society, our environment, whatever other social causes, as an individual I may feel that, oh, but if I just mentor two girls, what difference is it going to make in 1.4 billion population that we have in the country? But then that's going to matter to those two, and that's enough. Those two will, then do it for another two, and then the cycle will go on. Or if I'm teaching my daughter not to waste water, and what is those 2 drops of water? What difference is it going to make? It will make. I mean, so as an individual, whatever we can contribute, that is one. Then those of us who have been fortunate to be in leadership roles, we are in a position of influence. So how is it that we can, influence the teams that we are working with? How can we inspire other people who are watching us to also follow suit? You have to lead by example. So if you're doing something and somebody sees you and gets inspired, then that's how the ripple effect works. And then it is for the organizations, as much as everybody is in business to make money, at the end of the day it is about bottom line. What is it that you are getting at the end of all whatever business you are involved in? But the how becomes very important. And when we are talking about being content in life, when we are wanting to be fulfilled, it is very important that businesses are run the right way. I'm very fortunate that I'm working in an organization which pays a lot of attention to what is the carbon footprint that we are leaving behind, what are the CSR initiatives we are doing. If we are operating, we have different factories, we make sure that there's enough, not enough, but whatever in our capability we can do to support the schools in the vicinity. If we can plant trees around, our area of work, whatever we can contribute towards infrastructure development. So it is, all of these things when we do at an individual capacity, at the capacity of a leader and as an organization, for sure, the collective good is going to happen. So yes.
Yes, Miss Rajni.
I completely agree with whatever Ms. Swati just mentioned. Also, one more thing that with the current era where we are emerging, we are moving with a fast pace towards the AI and everything. So it's very, very important that we have this mindset of a collective growth because with AI coming in, automatically instigates a feeling of anxiety. Not only it is not subject to any particular gender, but to everybody. At that time, people trying to handhold each other. We trying to handle each other to grow, to learn. Maybe there's something that we need to know that in terms of learning, there is a possibility where uh, we can piece up our involvement or in the system with get hand to hand with the AI. Basically speaking about it with the entire team, seeking a training, or making a note of it and passing it on also to the next person. So it
Excuse
becomes.
me, Rajni, sorry to interrupt. Can you talk into the mic, please?
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yes,
because
yes.
you're not
Oh,
audible.
I
Yeah,
was not audible.
I was
Oh,
sending a
sorry.
chat, but yeah. If you can just talk closer to the mic, please.
Yes, yes.
Sorry
Is
about
it
that.
better now? No
Yes.
worries, no worries. Thank you so much, Dr. Karve, for
Mm.
letting me know that. Yeah, now is it better? I'm not
Yes.
sure till where everybody heard about it, but I was talking about a collective growth can also happen with a collective learning process,
Yeah.
where basically with the coming in of AI, everybody coming together. See, just simply. um me getting teaming up with other female team members of my team and then learning AI. It's not grouping. It is not grouping up, but a collective learning. We all hand holding each other, understanding each other's priorities, and then we grow up in the system. We basically fight out the irrelevance that might come up down the line when the AI takes place. So basically, for me, collective growth is all about collective learning together. Everybody coming together, and that will, I believe, that definitely gives a sense of security also, and a sense of better means openness that helps us to talk about, discuss about each other's issue and getting resolution from each other's experience. For me, that is basically a collective growth.
Another question to know, Dr. Swati. Does the alignment of International Women's Day and International Safety Week represent a coincidence of dates, or does it underscore a broader imperative around gender equality and workplace safety?
Okay. So really, honestly, I didn't know that it had, come together, and it's a new learning for me that it's coinciding like this. But definitely, when we talk about women in the workplace, there is a concept of psychological safety. And if we look at the safety week and safety holistically, we are also talking about psychological safety at workplace. Women hesitate to speak up. They are when they speak up, and Swati Dogra, she even related some of the experiences, like how her whatever she said was interpreted in a different way, or it had a different reaction. And this is all because of prejudices and stereotypes around gender roles. So definitely not just females, but any gender identity issues. It is a big topic of psychological safety. And then this is all about the organizational culture, how the leaders are role modeling, how the culture is being, how the culture addresses these issues, to what extent all genders are able to speak up. They are, stereotypes are reduced, prejudices and biases are reduced. So it is a culture thing, organizational culture thing. So I think the leadership needs to do a lot in this area in terms of psychological safety at workplace.
So before we went up for the day, so final thoughts from each one of you. Maybe how can the one of the action for the organization or individual which can create the impact?
Before we get into this question, my one query to Miss Swati Dogra: how would you see this? Means there's an interesting question. Second March to 8th of March is a International Safety Week, and 8th of March is the International Women's Day. So basically, in corporates, how do you see this coincidence? What is it? Does it actually? How do you think this coincidence can be synced into the corporate culture? What indication does it gives about the corporate culture? If you think something
Actually,
can be.
like Dr. Swati said, I had not connected the dots before you pointed this out. So we did celebrate Safety Week in all our factories, and we did celebrate Women's Day in all our factories as well as in the corporate office. But it had not, we had not linked the two, and it's so nice that, and it's very relevant now as I think of it, because when we are talking about women empowerment and when we are wanting women to come into all kind of roles, there's no discrimination. They should be able to come and work in roles which were earlier perhaps considered more men dominated, male dominated, or if we are wanting them to come work night shifts also. We are wanting them to come and work in those leadership roles, which require a lot of traveling, which requires a lot of, odd working hours. Let's say, I mean, if, there are roles like that. So when we are empowering women, when we want them to come there, it is imperative that we create a very, very safe working environment for them. It has to go hand in hand. Women can come in those roles when they have a very safe environment. And safety, like Dr. Swati said, it has to be both physical as well as psychological. They have to feel free to be able to speak up their minds. They have to feel that they can only focus on their work without any fear of any harm to their safety in any way. So yes, so it's thanks for bringing my attention to that coincidence, whether it's a coincidence or intentional. But yes, I think it is important, and both women empowerment and safety goes hand in hand.
True, true. So, in action item that either of you feel that this is something that will go back and we want to think about it, anything of that sort, any point from both of you, Dr. Kaveh and Dr. Swati, Dr. Karve and Miss Swati.
So I think one of the things that, mindset from individual success to collective giving, that of course stays, because that's the message for this International Women's Day. And like Ms. Swati said, about collectively working together, mentoring, coaching. From our side, like I have designed mentoring programs and coaching programs for different organizations. So collaboration is one of our values. And I have created a lot of collaborative networks. And even as an organizational value, we espouse it. And we uh, we have created a lot of these different networks with collaborations with organizations, with different organizations, national and international, collaborations with individual experts. So if anyone wants to develop these mentoring and coaching platforms or processes in their organization, our institute will help them design and develop this. So if there are, women who want to become mentors, become coaches, from our side, we can train them. We can create these, the training for mentors or coaches. We can help them create that process. if they want. So this is some from our institute, we can definitely help out. The other thing is, a last thought to go with is align yourself with your values and passion, because that is what is going to sustain you long term. It is going to give you those positive emotions, less stress, work life balance. So everything, end of the day, make sure that all the domains in your life are balanced and lead with your values and passion. So that would be my my 1 cent advice to whoever is listening.
Okay. Anything from your end, Ms. Swati?
Yes, so I would say that we have to be very intentional in what we are doing. And if the intentions are right, the impact and the outcome is going to be right. So the intentions are very important. Whatever programs we are running, when we are talking about leadership development program, mentoring program, coaching program, is it just a tick in the box or, CSR program? So is it a tick in the box, or do we really have the right intention and do we want to create that impact? When we are doing it with the intention of creating an impact, it will. So that's what I would like to say. And especially, each one of us can do it as an individual, but those who are in the leadership roles, it's a privilege to be in a leadership role. And it is important for all the leaders to realize that you are in service of others. When you have, teams under you, you have to groom those teams. You have to bring the best out of them. You have to, take them along. So when we are having those intentions, I think that collective growth that we are talking about, the difference in the society that we want to see, more women coming up that we want to see, all of it will happen in a very organic way. So yes, those were my thoughts.
Yeah.
Any
One,
thoughts from you, Rajni?
yes, one key takeaway that I will definitely take back and check. Uh, I have been doing it, but not in a systematic way. That is one thing that was mentioned in this conversation. That is a four quadrant prospect, where basically we have our career, our personal life, our own passion, as physical health, as well as the spiritual health, everything. These have to be categorized very well if we really want to move ahead in our career at a peace of mind. And for that, we need to have these buckets to be aligned very well. There's a key takeaway for me that I'll go back and I'll basically retrospect at my end. And of course, this suggestion is something that I would definitely like to give to other people who are working along with me, that this should be, each of them shouldn't get intermingled, though they are connected, and the connection should be at our control. It shouldn't get mixed up. It's not a strong
Closer to the
needs to
mic.
be divided.
Closer to the mic.
So, these
You keep losing your voice. Closer to the mic.
Yes, sure. So, these categories, these four quadrants, each of the aspect of life which falls in these four quadrants, they should be managed very well within boundaries. But yes, that should be, uh, these should not be as and when required. We are going to basically look into it. They require a regular review, that whether everything is falling in place properly. It shouldn't be the case that we are completely emotionally drained and then we take a look into our physical or mental health. There should be a constant look at it. I believe that is something that I'll take back along with me.
Thank you for your insights. So to summarize in very short, so I think that every individual has the different strength. So being a woman, they have to prioritize their work, like personal balance, life balance, family, and the work as well. So it is important for them to balance between the personal life and the corporate life as well. So they should focus on their individual strength that will help them to achieve whatever they think of. And additionally, that mindset shifting is most important for the every individual, so that they can reach out to their career aspiration. So this is the summary from my side. Before we come to an end of this session, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the esteemed panel members and all the participants of this session, along with the audience of the online session. HR Open House 1 will be back with the another powerful impact session on the topic of global HR very soon. Till then, stay tuned with our social media platform. Once again, thank you everyone.
Before we wind up, my sincere thanks to Mitali, Meghna, and Akanksha, I believe. Yes, if this has been a movie, these three people were the camera people who were behind the lens. They have supported in this to set up this session. Thank you so much to three of you. Thanks a lot.
And thanks to you, Harish. You were a great
Yes.
moderator. Thank you very much for moderating the session so
Yes,
wonderfully.
thank you so much. Thank you
Thank,
everyone.
thank you,
Thank
Harish,
you.
Rajni, Swati, and of course my team, Mitali, Meghna, Kansha. Without their help, I am not able to, you know, accomplish whatever I need to accomplish. And these are wonderful ladies. And my other associate, Kalyani, I have to thank her also because, like Rajni said, she's also behind the scenes. So this was such a pleasure, such an honor, and thank you so much.
And it was honor for me as well to lead this session with the all beautiful ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.
Bye.